Liv Morgan is confronted by both Women's World Champions. Superstars continue to qualify for the Elimination Chamber matches, and the Masked Man strikes again. All this and more in this episode of This Week in WWE, What Mattered. SmackDown opened up with a promo from Tiffany Stratton, who was soon interrupted by none other than Nia Jax and Lash Legend. And they were interrupted shortly thereafterwards by the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, where they were basically all just flexing about the upcoming Women's Elimination Chamber match and bragging about how they were going to win and earn a Women's World Championship match at WrestleMania. This led nicely into the first match of the night, where Rhea and Io defended their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Nia and Lash. There was a really great near fall in this match, with Rhea Ripley hitting a powerbomb on Nia Jax, which led beautifully into an over-the-moonsault from Io Sky, who made the cover. However, Lash Legend pushed Rhea right onto Io, which broke up the count. But then this match took a really bizarre turn, because Lash Legend started attacking Io outside of the ring, with Io being the legal competitor. And then, for some reason, the brawl went on for a little while, and then the referee Charles Robinson just called for the bell and called the whole match off. So he basically just lost control of the match and just called for the bell, just ruining the championship match entirely. And this is one of those really silly finishes that doesn't make any sense, and the thing that bugged me about it the most was the fact that there was no negative reaction at all from Nia or Lash, who just had their championship match thrown out for literally no reason. I understand that they're heels and they want to inflict the most damage they can on Rhea and Io anyway, in frustration that they just had their match thrown out, but there didn't seem to be any reaction from them whatsoever that the referees just ruined their opportunity to become tag team champions. They should have at least been angry and frustrated about that first and directed that towards Charles before then turning their attention back onto Rhea and Io. And the brawl did continue after this, with a table being set up on the outside of the ring. We saw Nia Jax stood on the outside of the ring apron, and then Io Sky shot herself right into Nia Jax through the ring ropes and putting them both straight through the table. We also saw another women's triple threat Elimination Chamber qualifier match between Alexa Bliss, Julia and Zelina. The crowd didn't seem very invested in this match at first, which doesn't really surprise me considering how poorly Julia's been booked since she's been called up to the main roster, and Zelina's never really captivated the audience. But Alexa being a really popular figure in WWE, she was able to engage the crowd and get them on side and get them a little bit more invested in this match as it went on. And it was Bliss that took the victory after hitting a Sister Abigail DDT on Zelina and picking up the pinfall, with Julia just scrambling in the ring at the last minute trying to break up the count. We then saw a promo from Trick Williams, who said that nobody wants to hear Sami Zayn's can't get the job done story, and then he beat Rey Fenix in a really entertaining match. And the reason I wanted to mention this today is simply because how over Trick Williams is. And for me, it really shows the importance of the presentation of a superstar. He looks like a superstar, he acts like a superstar, his entrance theme gets the crowd engaged, and people instantly know who it is as soon as that music starts playing. He's incredibly talented, he's charismatic, and it's no surprise that the crowd have taken to him, but I believe this really shows the importance of the role of the entrance music. It really plays a big part in selling a character to the audience, which we can see clearly every time Trick makes his way to the ring, as we can hear the whole arena singing "Whoop That Trick." Next, we finally saw Jade Cargill defend the WWE Women's Championship after holding the title for over 100 days against Jordynne Grace. However, during her introduction before the start of the match, Jade was interrupted by none other than the Women's Royal Rumble winner, Liv Morgan, accompanied by Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Raquel Rodriguez. With Dom having arranged this Valentine's Day meal ringside, so a table and chairs was brought out, there was a tablecloth with flowers and plates of chicken nuggets brought out, which was just brilliant. Liv was simply there to observe who may be her WrestleMania opponent in Jade Cargill or Jordynne Grace, as she still hasn't yet chosen her opponent after winning the Royal Rumble. Unsurprisingly, Cargill was victorious following a big boot and jaded to successfully defend her title at the first attempt, before confronting Liv Morgan ringside and proclaiming, "If you choose me at WrestleMania, that will be your ass." It was a decent match with a good showing from Jordynne Grace. However, the WWE Women's Championship scene desperately needs some help. As I've said before in a previous video, there are so many stars in the women's tag division, which is great, right? That division has really been elevated, but there's actually too many stars in that division now. They've overly stacked that division to the point where on SmackDown now, the main event scene is absolutely bare, especially with Naomi being out at the moment, having a child, Bianca Belair having been out for nearly a year now. We could really benefit from people like Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss coming back into that main event scene. Before the main event of the night, we saw a short backstage interview with Drew McIntyre, where he basically started running through those who have qualified for the Elimination Chamber match and those in the upcoming Triple Threat qualifying match, with one of the best lines he delivered being that Jacob Fatu has got the best chance of winning Elimination Chamber if he qualifies, as he spent the most time behind bars. But then interestingly, just as Drew was coming on to speak about Sami Zayn, Sami confronted him himself and told him to carry on and say what he was going to say. And bizarrely, Drew told Sami that he's paid his dues and that he's a good man, and that he has a feeling that he's going to win the big one tonight, and then he wished him good luck. This clearly rattled Sami, and he didn't know what to make of it, as it was written all over his face during his entrance for his triple threat match between himself, Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes. There was a fast-paced start to this match, which included a lovely reversal of an attempted Cody cutter by Jacob Fatu, who literally just put his arms out onto the mat to stop the impact. Midway through the match, it was clear that Jacob Fatu was running riot, and there had to be a temporary allegiance made between Cody and Sami to take him out, which included them superplexing him off the top rope. Sami almost got the victory when he turned an attempted splash from Jacob into an inside cradle, but Jacob was able to kick out at the last minute. But eventually Jacob did hit the mighty moonsault on Sami Zayn, but Drew McIntyre was there to claymore his head off and just stop him from winning the match. Drew then threw Jacob into the ring post, threw him over the announce table before powerbombing him through it and completely taking him out of the running for this match. Drew then hit a clean Claymore kick on Cody Rhodes, and then he dragged Sami Zayn over the top of Cody to almost certainly give him the victory, but amazingly Cody kicked out at 2. I have to admit, I was caught off by this. I really thought that Sami was going to pick up the win this way. It would make sense with the way that Drew has been sabotaging both Cody and Jacob, but that wasn't to be the case, as Drew came back to the ring after the kick out to continue the assault, but Sami Zayn hit a haluva kick on Drew, but then Cody Rhodes instantly took advantage by grabbing Sami from behind, hitting a crossroads and pinning him 1, 2, 3 to book his spot in the men's Elimination Chamber match. Of course, from a business perspective, it makes perfect sense to have Cody Rhodes, the biggest star, in the men's Elimination Chamber match. However, I'm a little bit surprised that we got swerved like this. I think Sami winning in the manner that he would have done would have been really interesting for the story, but it feels like the undisputed WWE Championship picture going into WrestleMania is still wide open. There are still various routes they can take going into the grandest stage of them all. Just before I move on to covering Monday Night Raw, if you have enjoyed this video so far and you are enjoying my content, please support me in any way you can, whether that be subscribing to the channel, liking this video, leaving a comment below, or just coming back next week to watch the next episode. I am going to be broadening my horizons in the next few months and posting some more varied content, but first I really want to get my feet on the ground and establish a nice weekly routine for this series. Monday Night Raw opened up with an entrance from the World Tag Team Champions, the Usos, who were interrupted straight away by The Vision, with Paul Heyman demanding that Bronson Reed is entered into the men's Elimination Chamber match, but Adam Pearce retorted saying that he's got a qualifying match next week and he's going to have to win that if he wants to get into the match. LA Knight then mocked The Vision for complaining about the Masked Man last week and called for a 6-man tag match between the Usos, himself, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul and Austin Theory of The Vision, which was promptly made. The Vision did win the match, and then Logan Paul went up to the commentary desk, put on the headset and was trash talking Michael Cole straight to his face, but then coming into shot was the Masked Man to hit a stomp on Logan right onto the announce table before he scarpered off through the crowd once again. Just wanted to make a little shout out to Logan Paul here as well, because the way he sold this was brilliant. I know a lot of people in that position would have been slyly looking over their shoulder, waiting for that stomp to come and telegraphing it to the audience. However, Logan just kept on playing his part, looking straight ahead at Michael Cole, playing his role until he could feel that boot on the top of his head, and then he sold it like a champ. Then we saw something really interesting and random backstage, where there was a huge crate that was delivered with markings on it that said, "Deliver to WWE, do not open until 28th of February 2026, which is of course the date of the Elimination Chamber PLE. Raw General Manager Adam Pearce seemed quite bemused by this and simply said, ship it off to SmackDown and let Nick Aldis deal with it. We then saw another women's triple threat Elimination Chamber match qualifier between Natty, Asuka and Bayley. There was a video package of Natty shown before the match to try and convince us that she's this big threat now and should be taken more seriously, but honestly there is nothing that WWE can do to seriously convince me to take Natty or Natalya seriously. She's great in the ring, don't get me wrong, she's very good technically, solid wrestler, absolutely should be around to help mentor the next generation and be a coach for WWE for years and years to come. I do appreciate the value in her. However, her character work is, and always has been, awful. She can't cut a promo, she can't convince me of a character, she can't sell me on anything. Nothing that Natty does is ever convincing. And to nobody's surprise, Natty didn't win the match, as we saw Asuka qualify for the Women's Elimination Chamber match by making Bayley tap out to the Asuka lock, meaning that Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss and Asuka have qualified for the Women's Elimination Chamber. Michael Cole then held a sit-down interview with Women's Royal Rumble winner Liv Morgan, who was of course accompanied by Dirty Dom, where she reiterated what she's been saying lately, in that she is not going to be rushed to make a decision. It's a very important decision and she's going to make it in her own time. However, the interview was crashed by Stephanie Vaquer, the Women's World Champion, who started speaking fearlessly to Liv in Spanish, cutting a whole promo in her native language, with Dom sitting next to Liv and translating parts as Stephanie was speaking. And this was both brutal and a little bit funny all at the same time, because you could see the passion and the fire behind Stephanie Vaquer's promo. Speaking in Spanish, although I'm not a Spanish speaker myself and I had no idea what she was saying, she could completely sell me on her feelings and her anger towards Liv Morgan. But at the same time, you had Dom sat next to Liv, trying to translate as Stephanie spoke, but it was clear that he wasn't happy with what Stephanie was saying. He would occasionally reply to Stephanie in Spanish, then go back to translating in English for Liv, but he wasn't translating everything on purpose because of course he didn't want to upset Liv. But this didn't make a difference, as when Stephanie walked off out of the room, Liv burst into tears and had to walk out of the interview. And later on during Raw, the segment was actually uploaded to WWE's social media platforms with full translation. So we know that Stephanie told Liv that she has sacrificed nothing and that WWE gave her everything. She had the best training, she had the best medical, she had the best everything. Whereas she was born in Chile, a country where pro wrestling doesn't exist, and she had to travel the world to different continents to prove herself and conquer them all to become the champion that she is today. With her ultimately telling Liv that she should be ashamed for hiding behind the Judgment Day and that she should be ashamed for hiding behind a man. Wrapping up the end by saying, if you pick me at WrestleMania, you will not win. World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk then cut a promo in the ring explaining that Finn Balor has earned the beating that is coming to him. We then saw Finn himself come out to confront Punk, flanked by Dirty Dominic Mysterio and the returning JD McDonough, and it was good to see that he's kept his original babyface theme, which is where I ultimately think we're going with the Finn character. Balor went on to explain that he is really the best in the world, and that by beating him for that World Heavyweight Championship at the Elimination Chamber, he's not going to be ruining the WrestleMania main event against Roman Reigns, he's going to be making it even better. Then we continue to progress the slow build to Finn's ultimate babyface turn, with CM Punk telling him that he used to mean something. He used to be one of the best in the world. He used to do all these great things, but the Judgment Day has been an anchor around his waist for far too long. Punk then literally turned his back on the Judgment Day and said that he doesn't need anyone else to prove that he is the best in the world. And maybe you do. And he stood there with his arms out, trying to goad Finn and the Judgment Day into taking a cheap shot and attacking him. But Finn wouldn't do it. He had to hold back JD McDonough and Dirty Dom. This was doubled down a little bit later in the night as well, where we saw an argument between the Judgment Day with JD trying to explain to Finn that he's just trying to help him become world champion and that Punk is getting into his head. But Finn was explaining, no, it's nothing to do with that. I just need to prove that I can do this by myself. And the way that you can help is by letting me do this alone. There was then a number one contenders match for the Intercontinental Championship between El Grande Americano and Penta. Nothing really special here, but Penta ultimately won the match by hitting a Mexican Destroyer after some interference from the original El Grande Americano. The final match of the night was then a men's Elimination Chamber qualifying triple threat match between Javon Evans, Gunther and Dominic Mysterio. There was some incredible offense from Evans in this match. This kid is truly special, man. He's already engaging with the audiences and his athleticism is absolutely off the scale. Some of the moves that he pulled out in this match were just jaw-dropping. However, of course, with Gunther being in the mix, there are a few times where he went for something quite fancy, where he just got absolutely smashed out of the air. We then saw Dominic grabbing the ring bell hammer from ringside, planning to use this in the match, but Gunther caught him in the act. He took the hammer off him and was screaming at Dom, who was lying on the floor, until Dragon Lee popped up out of nowhere and clocked Gunther in the head with the ring bell, following Gunther's recent attack on him. This allowed Javon Evans to hit the OG cutter and pin Dominic Mysterio to qualify for the men's Elimination Chamber match, which was a big surprise for me. I'm certainly not complaining about the decision. I think it was a good one. Javon is going to get to showcase his skills inside the Elimination Chamber. No doubt he's going to do some crazy spot off the top of the pod or off the chain walls or off the ceiling of the chamber even. It's going to be a great opportunity for him, and it's also a good way of keeping Gunther outside of the world title scene without making him look weak. He got attacked by a ring bell in a triple threat match, which is perfectly legal, which just cost him the match. This doesn't make Gunther look weak at all, and it's a good way of keeping him out of the Elimination Chamber match, because you would have had to have gone some way to convince us why in kayfabe he wouldn't have won that match, considering this is the guy that retired Goldberg, John Cena and AJ Styles, and is now literally going by the moniker of career killer. So yeah, really happy for Javon Evans qualifying. It's going to be great to see him in the Elimination Chamber match alongside the other three men who we also know are qualified so far: Randy Orton, LA Knight and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. And that'll do it for this week's episode of This Week in WWE What Mattered. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think of the current storylines in WWE. If you do enjoy these weekly wrap-ups of what's going on in WWE, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, or do absolutely anything you can to support me and my channel. But until next time, see you later.